Hello, my name is Allison and welcome to my channel, my latest bookception. As I said in my first video, I wanted to do about 4 tag/challenge videos before I tried some new formats to help me get used to talking in front of my camera and editing. This is the 4th tag/challenge video I've made, so in the future you can be looking forward to more reviews and like wrap-up videos. I have a couple of those in the works right now, and so you should be getting those in the next few weeks. But on to today's topic, I will be doing the mid-year book freakout challenge. Technically, we are halfway through the year, though 2020 has simultaneously felt like one long week and an entire decade in just 6 months alone. So much has happened in the world that with quarantine, time has become meaningless to me, and I'm just reading more books. My overall goal this year was to read 40 books. I do like to undershoot a bit. Last year I read 56, I believe. But this year's goal was 40 books, and I have already surpassed that. I'm at 45 books being read this year, so that is fantastic news for me. I've never beaten my goal this fast. Last year was the first year that I had beaten my goal. So with nothing further ado to talk about before this video, let's get into the questions. There are 13 questions. I have tagged the original creators and videos in the description, so nothing else to do. Let's go! Question 1. What was the best book you've read so far in 2020? For this, I have Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I will be the first one to call out that I am Cassandra Clare trash. I love her books so much, and this one was the first book in her new trilogy, and I am completely obsessed with so many of the characters, and it's so fun to see versions of characters from the Infernal Devices as like parents. Like Will as a dad is everything. I love how much he loves Cordelia because she is a Carstairs, and that alone, right when he meets her, he's like, I love you. You are my child now. I will protect you. You are related to Jem. It's top tier for me. Question 2. What's the best sequel you've read in 2020? The best sequel I've read in 2020 has to be hands down Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I know I am super late on this train of being Leigh Bardugo trash, but this duology, somehow this second book beats the first book to me because I did not expect all this stuff to happen in it. Like, I thought, like, oh, we have one main goal. That's all we gotta do. That's easy. How is it gonna take this long of a book to get someone back? But then, like, we kept getting more added to it, and I've been like, this all makes sense, but I was not expecting any of this, and it's so good, and I could not put this book down once I started reading it. Question 3. What's a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to? So I haven't read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins yet. If I told my 12-year-old self that I have not read this book yet, she would be livid and, like, force me to read it right now. There is one reason I haven't read it yet, is because I've heard very mixed reviews. People either love it or they hate it. And I don't know who to believe if I will like it. I don't know if I want to spend my time reading this long book if I'm not going to like it. So if you guys have read it, please do leave a comment if you've liked it or if you didn't like it and why. Question 4. What's your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? This definitely has to be Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer. I am such a big fan of hers. The Lunar Chronicles is amazing, and I love the Renegades trilogy so much. They're so good. And I'm looking forward to her doing contemporary, because she usually deals with sci-fi or fantasy, and it's going to be really cool to read like a contemporary, but still have like some type of magic thing in there. Question 5. Biggest disappointment? Oof! Do I have a book for this? For me, it is definitely The Betrothed by Kira Cass. I am a big Kira Cass fan, and the Selection series is like my go-to books when I like in a reading slump. It's like perfect YA trash to me that I absolutely adore. And then so when I picked this book up and started reading it, I was so upset. If Kira Cass excels at one thing, she excels at having characters with so much personality. And then I read this book, and I cannot tell you one personality trait that the main character or the main love interest has. I can tell you one thing about one character. The king is just kind of really rude and doesn't respect people. That's literally all I can tell you about any of these characters. I have no idea what happened in the writing of this book. I'm just really disappointed in it. Question 6. Biggest surprise? this has to be Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rosh. I had heard about this book briefly. I haven't heard much hype around it, and I read it and I'm like, it's not the most original, but it's really good. I love the characters. They're really fun. I'm a big fan of this magic system and like the world building in it. I think it's really well done. I did really enjoy this book, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did because I have not heard a lot of talk about it. I heard some when it first came out, but it really sizzled out. So I was really surprised and happy at Snow Like Ashes. Question 7. Who's your new favorite author? Well, if it isn't obvious by the amount of books I now own of hers, Leigh Bardugo has surprised me so much this year. So far, I have read the entirety of the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology, and I am halfway through the King of Scars book. And I slept on Leigh Bardugo. I've been hearing praises for her for years, and I just had never gotten around to reading her. And now that I have, I am completely obsessed. I am so excited to continue on with her books, and they're just so good, and I love them. So, Leigh Bardugo, you're so good. I'm a fan. Question 8, newest fictional crush. For this, I have Christopher Lightwood from Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. When I read this book, I was not expecting Christopher to be the character I fell in love with. I love him though. I found that I have like a weak spot for like the genius that is not completely aware of everything that's going on. There's just something about Christopher, of him being aloof, makes him so funny to me. Like, him falling in love with a demon is just like, because he was writing love letters. Every time we got him on the page, I was living. Question 9. Newest favorite character. For this, I have Inej from Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I love Inej's backstory and how she used to be a circus performer and she uses those skills to feed the wraith, and how even though she's a great team worker, she is putting herself and her heart first. When she's in love with someone who she knows cannot give all of them to her, she won't go to them and be with them if she can't have them completely. And getting any chapter from her, I loved so much. She was my favorite person to follow in this entire series. I don't know how much more I can say about Inej because she's so fantastic. I love her. She's great. Question 10. A book that made you cry. For this, I have City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. This is not my first time reading it, but I keep going back to it, and every time I read it, it makes me cry. It was the first book I actually read that made me cry, and even now, to this point, I still cry while reading it. I love it so much. There are characters in here that break my heart when we see what happens to them, and they're just so good and innocent, almost, you could say. Question 11, a book that made you happy. For this, I have Legacy of Secrets by Ridley Thurston. Now, something really important about me is I am a giant Disney fanatic. I love learning about the history of the theme parks, and this is exactly what this book pretty much is in a fictional sense. So people travel back in time to the opening days of Disneyland, seeing this world of Disney in like the 50s. This book particularly makes me happy by seeing all these little tidbits of information of things that went wrong on the opening day of Disneyland that I've learned from YouTube videos that I know younger readers reading this book will be able to find out through it. And that's just really cool that it's finding these little tidbits of Disney facts. Question 12, the most beautiful book you bought this year. Without a shadow of a doubt, it is definitely King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Like, this is like, I think the most beautiful book I own in general, not even that I got this year. Like, it's so beautiful, and even without like the dust jacket, it's gorgeous still, so I can stare at this book for hours and be satisfied because it's so beautiful. I love it. Question 13. What book do you need to read by the end of the year? For this, I have Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. So, I've had this book for so long. I think this was the first book in this series I got back before the movie came out. I've read the first 2 books in this series, but I have not gotten to this book, and especially if I want to try reading the rest of the series eventually, I really do need to get this book done, and it's like beautiful too, so I don't know why I haven't. Well, that's all I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment of how your reading challenge has gone this year, and I'll see you next time.